This is the Bucks POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Bucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The new Bucks on the block erupting tonight for Milwaukee as they secure the bounce back 116-108 win over the Magic in Orlando. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the victorious edition of the Locked On Bucks postcast. I am your host. My name is Brandon Snide, joined alongside, as always, by the Wisconsin Badger legend himself, Mr. Brian Butch. Lots to dive into in this one. The Bucks getting a bounce back win, as we mentioned. We'll break all of that down. Who stepped up for the Bucks, maybe who didn't step up, but we're going to celebrate tonight for a 116-108 Milwaukee Bucks win. We'll dive into the turning point. We'll get into the Locked On Bucks postcast player of the game, and we'll hear your thoughts, your reactions, and yes, you guessed it, your celebrations tonight as the Bucks improve to 22-30 on the season. Before we get into all of that, just a quick friendly reminder, wherever you guys get audio podcasts, remember, you can get the Locked On Bucks postcast as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get them, you can now listen to the Locked On Bucks postcast. And you can see our beautiful faces over on YouTube. We're live right now chatting about this Milwaukee Bucks victory. If you're on the YouTube chat, drop your thoughts, drop your reaction, drop your celebrations, and make sure, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, get notified when we go live. And yes, the Bucks win tonight. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Butchie, let's get right into it, man. Before you and I got into this one, I said this was fun. Like, this was a fun Milwaukee Bucks game. I know a lot of Bucks fans are undecided on the direction they want this team to go. A lot of them aren't sure. Should we tank? Should we not tank? Should we be winning? Should we be firing this person or that person? I don't care. Tonight, it goes away for me tonight, Butchie. It was a fun victory for the Milwaukee Bucks. Your initial gut reactions after the 116-108 win.
Yeah, I think that's your vantage point of a fan. Mine is of a player and a coach. And instantly I'm thinking like, all right, well, how do they piece together and how do they fit? If Giannis comes back, how do you make sure that, like, Kevin Porter Jr. still is able to get a triple-double? How is, Thomas going to be able to score the way that he does? What does Dang do how does he play? Like, that's where my head goes. So I am completely wrong, and I have a problem enjoying things in life.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy it, Butchie.
I just do. But this was one that was good, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing that I take away from this is you got new guys that you did not have to pay a lot of money for, and the contributions. Now, Cam Thomas, he's been doing this for a long time.
Yes, he has.
For his career, he averages 15 a game for his career. I mean, the guy is a flat-out bucket getter. So this, like, if you're new to Cam Thomas, like, okay, you didn't know that he could do this. He does this. Like, this isn't new. I think Dang's the one that I look at and say, okay, like there's something there. Like maybe there's a piece that can fit into what you're trying to. Now, this is the biggest thing that I have is both of those guys with Rollins out, with Giannis out, had the green light the entire game. Just
that's fair.
Do what you want to do.
Yep.
I'm not going to question shot selection. I'm not going to question it. Like, do whatever you want to do, and we will be good. So that's what I look at with this. But that being said, like, Cam Thomas, he's able to get 20. He's 12 of 20. Dang, when you look at that, he's 6 of 10, 5 of 8 from 3. Like, those are all really good and effective and efficient numbers for when you have the green light, I think. And I think that's the biggest thing. I also have to give a bunch of credit to Kevin Porter Jr. for, in a game that could have been me.
Sure.
It was you, me, you, me. Like, there was a lot of balance there. And I have not been a Kevin Porter Jr. fan. I don't love the game. I don't think that let me put it this way. Ultra talented. I don't think he's a winner. I haven't seen enough of him being a winner throughout as far as making the right play, right situation, all of that. But I'm starting to change my mind a little bit on that. I think the way that he's facilitated, the way that he's got others involved, and I think a lot of that also comes from this whole roster has been put in a tough situation with as many times that Giannis has been hurt. Because as soon as Giannis is back, everybody's roles change. That's just the reality of what it is when your superstar is back. So these guys' roles have changed 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 times throughout the season already, which is really tough to get. But this was a fun one, is right. I do agree with you.
It was an interesting game. I feel like I say, like, I just keep saying the same thing when I come on these shows, but it was in the first quarter, Butchie. The Bucks go 4+ minutes without scoring.
Yeah.
No Ryan Rounds. You mentioned it in this one, the plantar fasciitis in his foot. I don't know if we'll see him tomorrow in OKC. I doubt they'll play.
I'm going to lean towards no on that.
I'm going to assume you're not going to see Ryan Rounds, so you might see the cast of characters once again you saw tonight. Desmond Bane for Orlando, however, 4 made 3-pointers in that first quarter, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking up at the scoreboard, Butchie, and I'm like, man, the Bucks can't buy a bucket. They go 4+ minutes without scoring. Desmond Bane hasn't missed, and he almost outscores the Bucks by himself in the first quarter. And I'm thinking, I look at the scoreboard, and I'm like, Bucks are only down 3. Bucks are only down 5. Like, they stayed connected, and then that second quarter turned. It flipped. They outscored them by 5 in that second quarter, and they go into half up, and I'm like, this is kind of crazy. And this, the score, Bobby Portis didn't score to the fourth quarter. Miles Turner finished with 5 points. AJ Green finished with 6 points on the evening. You didn't get a ton of, we'll get into the bench because you had 2 guys that stuck out on the bench, but that was about it. You got nothing from Gary Harris, and I mentioned Bobby Portis only scoring in the fourth quarter, only had 4 points. So the guys that you thought you would need to step up, Miles Turner, Bobby Portis, didn't. AJ Green, also a part of that, did not contribute tonight. And instead, as you mentioned, Kevin Porter Jr., we'll dive into the Locked On Bucks postcast player of the game. I'm sure we'll probably have a few options to choose from, but you mentioned Kevin Porter Jr. I mean, that second quarter was big for KPJ in getting the Bucks involved and getting that bench, getting Cam Thomas.
Well, getting the bench involved, exactly.
Right, and getting Ousmane Dieng involved, and that really is what kind of turned the tide a little bit. And the Bucks too, Butchie, you and I have talked about this, rebounding the basketball, and this is not something that I'm not teaching anybody something new about basketball. In that first half, I mentioned the Bucks not shooting the ball great, not scoring the ball great, but they out-rebounded Orlando +10, and that was a big difference because what the Bucks' Achilles heel this season, outside of injuries, of course, is just giving these teams these second and third opportunities, and then also not turning the ball over. The Bucks had 8 turnovers in the first half. Now you're going to say to yourself, well, that's not great. It's not, but they had 7 in the first quarter against this same Orlando team on Monday. Like, that was the difference, in my opinion. And obviously you get into Cam Thomas and Ousmane Dieng and what Kevin Porter Jr. did with his second triple-double of the season, his 5th in his career. Like, that's obviously a big part of it, but not giving this Orlando team second and third opportunities, not turning the ball over. Butchie, on Monday, how many times was this like, oh, it's only a 4-point game, and then 3 minutes go by and the Bucks are down 15?
Correct. Yeah,
because they're turning the ball over and they're giving those second and third chance opportunities, and we did not see that tonight.
No, you didn't. And I mean, you look at it, obviously we'll get into it, but bench points, they outscore them 55-25. I was trying to find the number from 3. I think they're like 11 of 14 from 3 or some ridiculous number, like you were saying, in that first half.
Yep.
And,
they're 11. Yeah, they shot almost 50%. Yeah. Orlando did in that first half.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And like you said, though, you touched on it, to be able to be where you were at, and have the lead a hat, like, it was, you're sitting there saying that's exactly what you needed. That's exactly how you wanted this thing to play out. And a lot of it was that third quarter. It was that bench that came in, got going. Then that third quarter became that back and forth game, which, okay, how does that play out? But I'll tell you that also that 3-minute stretch, and it started with the Banchero, dunked or missed dunked with 151 left. Like that. I mean, that was a huge turning point in this game. But I also thought within it, that 8-minute mark, the Bucks went small a little bit. They did some different things that I looked at and said, okay. And Cam Thomas did his thing, and just in general, like, very enjoyable. And I thought they played the right way. And we haven't always been able to say that.
Energy, like the ball was moving. Like, there's guys obviously that we could sit here and nitpick that didn't. I already mentioned them, but like, these are the younger guys. Cam Thomas, you know what you're getting in him. Ousmane Dieng, who was part of that deal at the trade deadline for the Milwaukee Bucks, still only 22 years old. A lot of potential. A lot of Bucks fans.
Lottery pick, 11th overall.
Right, like a lot of. I'll be hand up, but I'll admit, like, I didn't know much about him. I'm sitting there, watching him. But before we get into Turning Point, before we get into Locked On Bucks postcast, and before we get into our everydayers, thoughts, reactions, and celebrations, what did you think of Dieng? Because obviously there's a lot of room to grow, and the Bucks haven't had a quote unquote prospect, right? Ryan Rollins is in that conversation. Andre Jackson Jr., I think we all know what he is for the Milwaukee Bucks, but they haven't had that guy. They didn't draft Jane. I'm aware of that. But they haven't had a guy where he was at the beginning of his career and was buried in OKC and for right reasons, right? Like the NBA world champs and obviously loaded from top to bottom on that roster. But what did you think from Ousmane Dieng? And we'll dive into the Locked On Bucks postcast player of the game, and we'll get into that. It might be one of ours. 17 points in 23 minutes, Butchie. And for not watching him a lot in OKC, because quite frankly, he didn't play a lot, he looks pretty smooth, man. I like what I saw. Giannis liked what he saw, by the way. He went over, I don't know if you were watching the FanDuel broadcast. He apparently went over to Wes Matthews.
He did go to Wes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And he was he's like, man, that guy's smooth. So that was kind of cool to see. And obviously Giannis, it's his teammate. He's going to speak highly of him. But what did you see from Ousmane Dieng tonight?
I mean, I like a lot of things too. This is the question I have. I think it's the question that most Bucks fans should have. Is Doc going to play young players?
When not have a choice.
but he does. Like, you know, I mean, he's going to. If Giannis comes back and guys are healthier, he is going to have a choice. And that's been the one thing that Doc has not done. I mean, the development of the Bucks players, of their young players, has not happened under Doc. Now, you can say Ryan Rollins, okay, we're having a conversation there because it was forced. But that has been the biggest downfall of the Bucks is the development of the young players that they drafted. They haven't got anything out of it. You go extremely young with A.J. Johnson, and what do you get out of A.J. Johnson? You get a trade piece. That's all you get. You get no development whatsoever. So as much as I like what he was able to, Dieng was able to bring to the game, how much is he going to play is my question. And again, I have a hard time being happy. I hate to say, but I think
be happy tonight, Butchie.
No. But honestly, like, I think there's a lot there, and I think there's the pieces are there. The question that I have is so much of the league is about opportunities. Didn't have it at Oklahoma City.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, is this the place where Milwaukee does give him the opportunity? I just go back to Doc's track record. How much does Doc play young players? Think about how hard it was for AJ Green to crack it. Ryan Rollins to crack it.
We were pounding the table for both of those guys last year. I mean, Ryan Rollins dealing with an injury last year, but we saw flashes of it, here and there.
That's my point. Like, so that is the biggest thing that I look at with it. But in this year, you need to figure out what you have.
Yeah.
That is your biggest thing. That's what you should worry about this year if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. Is figure out who you have, and with that, you have to play him. And I think if you play him, there's enough opportunity with being a young guy to grow into something special. After one game, I know that sounds crazy.
I like it, though.
But, like, that's what this season should be. Love Pete Nance. You know me.
We both do. Yeah, we both do.
Pete Nance is not the answer, though. Pete Nance has reached his potential. Pete Nance has reached his ceiling, or as Michael Jordan said, the sky, or whatever Jordan said there. But like, he's reached what he's going to be. He could definitely be that, rotational somewhere in the league. I think Pete Nance has staying power in the league. But if you're Milwaukee, you're looking for that next level of guy that is going to come in and really have huge contributions versus just what Pete Nance does. And that's not a knock on Pete Nance. Sure. Like, it's not. It's just the facts of what the league is.
The Milwaukee Bucks getting a bounce-back victory in Orlando over the Magic, a team they just lost to on Monday. They get the 116-108 victory on the road, 22-30 now on the season. Are our Milwaukee Bucks. When did this game turn for the Bucks, and who gets those Locked On Bucks postcast player of the game honors? We break all of it down on the Locked On Bucks postcast coming up right after this. Tonight's show is brought to you by Indeed. Sponsored jobs. Hiring just isn't about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move to make, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with qualified candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through those mismatches. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute or so I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Once again, that's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. If you're hiring, do it right with Indeed. Tonight's Locked On Bucks postcast is brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, and the moment. Getting the tickets, though, that's the part that's not always been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle, and it puts the advantage back where it belongs, with you, the fans. I absolutely love seeing the all-in price up front, so no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, one of the best parts about it, being able to see the view from the seat before buying, which also helps you make your decision really, really quickly. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code Locked On. You get $20 off your first purchase. Once again, that's Locked On for $20 off. Download the Gametime app, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. And lastly, our victorious edition of the Locked On Bucks postcast is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The Winter Games officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action, the drama of those curling matches, the speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that just feel different right from the opening faceoff. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them other than with FanDuel. FanDuel, fuel your game. Thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcasting network. A 116-108 victory over the Orlando Magic. It was the new Bucks on the block. Let's dive into when this game turned for the Bucks as they are victorious tonight in Orlando.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
You mentioned late in that fourth quarter, Butchie, we kind of mentioned the struggle out of the gate for the Milwaukee Bucks in the first quarter. They go into halftime up a few points, and then they kind of keep that pressure on in that second half. When did you think, Butchie, that this game turned for the Bucks after they beat Orlando 116-108?
Yeah, normally I like to go some point earlier in. So I'll give you two here, okay? I think that second quarter – KPJ getting the Bucks involved, getting Cam involved, really, getting everybody along, especially with where they're at. I thought that was a really good part of this. I think if I'm going to be like exactly specific on the moment, it's with 151 left where Banchero, misses the dunk on the transition opportunity. Milwaukee gets it. They then go on a 10-2 run and they seal the game. I mean, that's obviously the biggest turning point there. But in general, I think that second quarter is big. That's not going to be talked about enough because I really thought it got them back into it. They score 32. They hold Orlando to 27 just in that second. And I thought that was a really big part of just how that played out. I mean, in general, as I look at the stats just for that second quarter, defensively, I thought they did a good job. They held Orlando to 30-some%. The Bucks shot 50 or 48% and 38.9% from three. So I think that's a big part of what that, in general, second quarter kind of plays out. Excuse me. I apologize. Let me fix that. Hit the wrong button there. 60% in the second quarter alone and 40% from three in the second quarter. I was looking at the numbers. Those numbers weren't adding up from what I was looking, and I got it right there. So 60%. They were 12 of 20 in the second quarter on the offensive side of the ball. 4 of 10, and they held Orlando to 30% from the floor, which again, that's a huge part of that game. But if I've got to point at a time frame, it's the 151 mark in the fourth quarter.
And I think if Banchero makes that, the game is tied, right? And the arena probably blows the top off, right, in Orlando, and they're in that crowd, and who knows in that moment what happens. Mine's also, I mean, you can look at the second quarter, you can look at the third quarter. The honorable mention, Cam Thomas with 15 points in the third quarter.
They take the lead on that dunk. It was tied at 106, 106. He goes that. It goes 108, 106.
Yeah, that's a big difference. And then the pressure's back on the Bucks. Honorable mention for me, I'll go through this kind of quickly. Third quarter, Cam Thomas putting the team literally on his back, 15 points in the third quarter. He took a run, a 9-0 run into the fourth quarter, made an 11-0 run on his own in this game. And I thought he was obviously a huge part for that one. But I'm going to go to the 6:20 mark, Butchie, in the fourth quarter. I don't know. You obviously have seen much more basketball than I. I don't know if I've ever seen a player get a technical foul with the ball in his hand, kind of jawing back and forth with the defender. I think it was Mo Wagner, one of the Wagner brothers. And it felt like the momentum was slipping a little bit. The next Bucks, Orlando makes the free throw. The next Bucks possession, it's a block shot. And then you're like, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh, this is kind of where the wheels are wobbling a little bit and they're going to fall off here. And Kevin Porter Jr. goes down that second possession after that tech, goes down and hits that big 3-pointer. Remember, they called it a 2 initially on the court. After further review, it was a 3-pointer. It gave them a 4-point advantage at that moment. I think it was 100-96, and that would be all the Bucks would need. I thought that was a big moment in the game. It was a
6:15, 195.
Yep. Well, okay, 195. So that was the moment for me where it was like, if they let it slip there, like that would have been the turning point. I think in either direction, either win the game or you lose the game, and obviously that would have been a big part of it. We talked a lot about a lot of guys that the Bucks that stepped up for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. We had a career night out of one of them. We had a triple-double out of one of them. We had a ton of bench points out of 2 of them. Let's get into it, Butch. Our Locked On Bucks postcast player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
This is our third time with a victorious edition of the Locked On Bucks postcast, handing out the prestigious postcast player of the game. Butchie, you lead us off. Who do you got getting the mentions tonight?
Yeah, I would go Jericho Sims. Didn't miss a shot. 6 of 6, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 17 and 11. I would. But he almost gave the game away by fouling with, a minute 12 left in the backcourt that caused a 2-point game. Then I'm just like, what are you doing?
Little overly aggressive.
A little. A little.
But let me just push back.
There's no buts.
Let me push back just a little bit, because without him tonight, Butchie, again, the Bucks out-rebounded them by 17.
Oh, I don't disagree. He was going to be my player of the game.
And what he did tonight, I think that's a big part of it. Like, yes, in that moment, and that's a learning moment for Jericho Sims. There's no doubt.
A learning moment.
But again, another game with big minutes from him, and he was a big contributor to that victory.
Yeah, I said all that, Brandon. I just said he was going to be my player of the game. He impacted it greatly. But I can't give player of the game to dummies. Like, I can't do it. You can't foul with 1 minute and 12 seconds left up as much as you were. In my notes, it says 112 foul. Why? With a big old question mark. Like, why?
D'Angelo Ross on the YouTube live chat. He agrees with you, saying Sims was solid, but low IQ player of the game.
But you can't, oh my gosh, you can't do that. Like that. No. So that being said, I know I'm talking way too much. We got to get out of here. I'll give it to Cam Thomas. Thought he was elite. 12 of 20, 34 points. Just did everything that needed to happen. This dude's a bad man. He can score the basketball. I mean, he's done it his whole NBA career. So we'll go there. I know it's an easy one there, but I mean,
yeah, and you got tons of people lined up on the YouTube live chat who agree with you, saying Cam Thomas. 34 points in 25 minutes, man. I mean, and I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a second or two. I saw a lot of negative reaction, Butchie, when the Bucks signed him, and they're like,
I was just looking through the tweets, and I saw you too. I was going to bring that up, but
I don't understand why. Like, what? First off, the Bucks are still 8 games under 500. We don't know where their season's going to go. But he's a walking bucket, and you need scoring. You're not getting it from AJ Green. You're not getting it from Bobby Portis. You're not getting it from Miles Turner. Yes, I understand that Cam Thomas's defense is not elite. I understand he doesn't share the basketball in the way that you want him to share the basketball. He also played in Brooklyn. Okay. It's a little different here now. He's going to get a lot more wide open looks, especially when number 34 comes back. There was no reason to shoot down that signing for the Milwaukee Bucks in the moment that we're in. So I applaud you, because that's an easy one for me as well. Cam Thomas is there. I'm going to go Usman Jane tonight. Career high in 3-point field goals made. He had 4 as the top notch for him. He had 5 tonight, 5 of 8 for Ousmane Dieng, 17 points in 23 minutes. And I could see the confidence, Butchie, coming off of him. A couple of those drive to the baseline, rise and shoot mid-range jumpers. Paulo Banchero was on him. Mo Wagner was on him. I liked what I saw out of Ousmane Dieng. So I thought tonight, both of those guys on the bench, Butchie. Both of those guys on the bench. So again,
25, they outscored him by 30.
Exactly. And again, a lot of work to do for this Milwaukee Bucks team. In no way, shape, or form have they turned things around yet, but it was a fun victory tonight. A 116-108 win for our Milwaukee Bucks. And things don't get any easier because tomorrow we'll be back at it because the Bucks take on the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road prior to the All-Star break. So we'll be here with you live following that game. That'll do it for tonight's show. Our thanks to each and every one of you for making Locked On Bucks part of your day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And remember, wherever you guys get audio podcasts, you can get Justin Garcia and Camille Davis on The Daily Show. They got you covered all week long, every single day. And then Butchie and I got you after the games. You can hit us up on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on the videos for us. And make sure you hit the notification bell. As I mentioned, we're going to be live once again tomorrow. That notification bell will notify you when we go live, and we will talk to you again after the game tomorrow. We'll get one more in before the All-Star break as the Bucks are victorious tonight in Orlando, 116-108. Finally, our thoughts, our thanks, and appreciations to each and every one of you. And as always, win, lose, or draw, make sure you stay locked on Bucks.